All right, we got YouTube. Let's get Twitter going. All right, everybody. I think we are up and running. So we are doing this both on YouTube up here, and we're doing it on Twitter down here. So if I'm looking up and down, that is why. Okay, looks like everything is running well. So we're trying to do a little bit more branching out into some of the other various social medias. Currently, my fucking Missouri ass is in Anaheim, California. Apparently, I showed up right when all the rain stopped, which was really nice. I'm going to flip this real quick. All right, that's still going. This? Nope, don't want to end that. Okay. Did a lot of stuff today. Met a Twitter buddy. Ran the kid around. My 3-year-old ran her around some other stuff. So for the most part, I had a really good day. So I just wanted to go over some things. I really want to do some of these like kind of on a monthly basis, just like where we're at with the podcast, what we're doing, just beyond like kind of what we do on the actual episodes themselves. So what we're doing with podcasts, we're trying to get to doing a bonus, a bonus audio of some kind once a week, kind of on Mondays, and then we have our normal release on Wednesday, Thursday. Excuse me, I've had a couple of beers, and so we want to fucking just beam this content into your head a little bit further. We want to continue on with the interviews and everything. We actually have a really interesting interview that hopefully we get to flesh out a little bit. That goes back to our Clint Lawrence. Look up Clint Lawrence if you want. And it's one of those, Nate and I are always talking about how fucked up you have to be to like actually get convicted of murder in Iraq or Afghanistan. Clint Lawrence, and I think I've got that name right, is one of those people. So definitely go back, and so we've got kind of a line on somebody who might want to give us some kind of in-depth information on that. So another question that somebody posted, and something I've kind of put out little tendrils, little feelers on, is doing a podcast network. I'm not sure what a podcast network is going to do for anybody in the way that we do podcasts, but basically it would be lefty veteran podcast. So if we did, it would include our podcast, Lions Led by Donkeys, Unauthorized Absence with Amber, Truder Bell, definitely you should be listening to, and Fortress on a Hill, which is a really good one. Eyes Left. Who else? Lefty veteran. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. But just like these left leaning, Eyes Left, Lions Led. This is like my fourth one of these. But kind of a podcast network of them. But I mean, we're all like very independent, but also we're very in what we do. So I don't know what a podcast network would actually do for us. But it is an interesting idea. Kind of something where we can all kind of feed off of each other. We show up on Joe Kasabian's podcast, and I obviously have talked about Joe's podcast or Joe's book a lot, Hooligans of Kandahar. Amber Mathwig, on Unauthorized Absence, who, like, if you want to do veteran stuff that isn't just some fucking boring ass white dudes, that's what she does. Fortress on a Hill and Eyes Left are also like much do a lot more in depth into leftism than we do. So like I would love to do some kind of network, but like also I don't know what a network would help. I don't know. It's something that I'm still kind of bouncing around my head. Because I definitely want to do some kind of lefty podcast network, and I just don't know what that entails. I don't know what that gives anybody, and I don't know how it helps anybody. Because like we try to be working with each other and doing things for one another. I mean, honestly, Nate in these deserts on my podcast, has some kind of hand in most of these other left-leaning podcasts. Nate is a master producer at this point, so he moved to fucking England and started his own just producing all these podcasts. So I feel like we already do kind of have a network, but we just don't talk about it. But I don't know. I don't listen to enough other podcasts outside of what I listen to right now, other than Street Fight, that that's something that a network I just that Foundry or the whoever does the Crack podcast, whatever their thing is on. But I just don't know what that, like I said, I don't know what it entails. So it's just one of those things that I'm kind of bouncing around in my head. I definitely want to do something with it. I wish I knew graphic design a little bit better, not graphic design, web design a little bit better. And I could do something maybe we all do, here's these 5 podcasts and we all have, you can give to this central Patreon. I don't know how to do it, because I don't want to force everybody to do advertising. I want if you want to do advertising, you can do advertising. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. I don't want to force anybody on. I don't want to force any of that onto anybody. However you want to generate revenue and income, do it however you want. So we'll just. I'm still bouncing it around. I know Nate and I have talked about it once, but we have just instant messaging back and forth. We haven't actually talked about how we want to do it. But I definitely want to do something which all of the lefty veteran podcasts, everybody who's left veteran, because everybody's thing is different. There is not anybody who has a this is my set thing, but if you don't like it, you can go to this other thing that does the exact same thing. We don't have that. Everybody, lefty veterans and the quote woke veterans, everybody kind of found their own niche. Nate and I did it first, which of course we ripped it off from Chapo, who ripped it off from Street Fight, who is the fucking podcast, the lefty podcast godfather is the Street Fight boys. Shout out to Brett and Brian. But anything down to what we do that is veteran oriented is just a little bit different from everybody else. And of course, because we're lefty, and not even that necessarily socialist, just as long as you are left leaning, because the veteran space is so hardcore right leaning that even if you're a fucking Democrat, I will bring you in on something here. If you think Kamala Harris is the next coming, I don't know about that. We're gonna have a conversation about it, but just even if you're just be fucking left of center is all I'm saying. So we're bouncing some things around. We're gonna see. So I don't know where that's at right now. I kept telling Joe's oh yeah, after the new year, and of course it's fucking 20 days after the new year. I'm no closer to it other than mentally bouncing some things around. So let's see. I put out that I wanted some questions. Hypoallergenic cats, yay or nay? Look, if you're allergic to a cat, I get it. But those fucking scrotum cats that have no fur, that have no hair, what the fuck is the point of that? I don't even understand. I've seen the Sphinx cats. My sister thinks they're cute. I guess if you think they're cute, sure. I guess all God's creatures gotta find a place to live, I suppose. But those things are weird and gross, and I like cats. I own a dog. I used to have cats. I rehomed the cats because the cats and the dogs didn't get along, and the dogs are way more useful than the cats ever were. So not into the cats. I'm if we got another cat, I have a Pyrenees. So I have a Great Pyrenees that is 80 pounds, which is small for a Pyrenees, who wants to play. And if we got a cat, we'd have to get a kitten that would be hey, you're fucking 3 months old. Here's this giant dog. You're best friends now. Because what happened is we had cats that were already older and in their age and everything. And then we got the dogs. My wife, I had the cats, and then my wife had a dog. But the dog that my wife had didn't give a fuck about the cats, and so everybody was cool. But then we got younger dogs, and the younger dogs wouldn't play with cats, and the cats were like, "No, we don't want that." So, long story short, do whatever you want with a cat, man. But I mean, those fucking cats that look like a ball bag, I don't get it. Let's see. Why haven't you been a guest on YKS? What the fuck, Francis? I don't know what that is. You know shit. Yes, kiss Satan. I mean, either one of those. Sure, I'll get on one of those. Let's see. Q&As. I would love to do some more Q&As. Hearing Nate and Adrian answer them was a highlight of my day. I do miss having Adrian on, but he's moved on to doing other things. But doing a Q&A, I don't know, like, it's been a while since we've done them. We're really enjoying doing the review stuff though, like reviewing movies. Like, I got a whole like list of different movies that I want to watch. Some of them are like serious, some of them are funny. We did In the Army Now recently, the Pauly Shore joint, which Pauly Shore's coming to St. Louis, and I have tickets to go see it. And I'm going to try to fucking. I know people in the entertainment industry in St. Louis. I'm going to see if we can set something up where I can fucking corner Pauly Shore and be like, "Hey, let me interview you about this movie that you shot fucking 25 years ago," and see what he remembers about it. Let's see. There's that guy. That's about Podcast Network. Does Nate know that he got subtweeted by a former guest of the show in a Time magazine article about civility? Fucking probably. I mean, I don't know. Nate and I get yelled at by so many people. Being leftists and being veterans, you have this glorious like fucking sweet spot of where veterans don't like you because you're like, I believe that we shouldn't be doing war overseas with all these other countries, and we absolutely should have our budget cut so that we can, give money to literally anybody else. So veterans don't like that. The right-wing veterans don't like that. And then you've got the fucking full, far left-wing people who think that there's nothing that we can do other than fucking putting a bullet in our own brains that will ever forgive us of the crimes that we have committed. Sorry that we weren't woke at 15. Generally, the people that are yelling at us about that are, early 20s. I mean, look, I'm 35, man. Like, I joined the Army in 2000 because I didn't fucking know any better. And I don't know if I told this story on the podcast, but so I got back from Iraq in 2010, and my dad bought tickets to go see the Cardinals baseball team. So we, whole family, and he got, upper deck nosebleed stuff, which is fine. I always loved being upper deck because baseball is just like a game that's happening in front of me while I hang out with everybody. So when the Cardinals hit a home run, they shoot off fireworks, right? So somebody hits a home run during this game, fireworks start going off. And the fucking lizard part of my brain, like, I'd been home for like less than a month at this point. The lizard part of my brain has a fucking conniption, basically. And I start trying to go over people and like throw people aside to get to cover because we're being mortared. We're being rocketed. And my father, so I, at the time I had a chance, I got out in the stadium, I, smoked a cigarette. I still smoked at the time and relaxed. My sister came down and my dad, came down. My dad's a veteran, never went overseas, but he was deployed as National Guard to Kansas City during race riots in the 60s. So he knows what it's like to be shot at too. So, that whole thing happened. This is 2010. And like not too long ago, talking to my dad about PTSD and talking about, what it is to, just to fucking have something that you can't control in your brain, right? Like have this thing that is happening in your brain, and you're just like, I can't switch that off. Like I went to a restaurant yesterday with a bunch of people, and like somebody was like, "Oh, sit here." I'm like, I cannot have my back to a full restaurant. It will freak me the fuck out. I cannot deal with fireworks. I cannot deal with, and I was never in like major combat. Like this is just getting rocketed and like being knocked out of my bed by explosions. Like this is, just like little things that have stuck with me for like over like nearly a decade at this point. My daughter hates fireworks, and it's fine by me. I hated fireworks when I was a kid too, and then I was cool with them, and then of course war happened. And I just remember my father, to cap off this long rambling drunk story. My father told me, like when I was talking about that moment, like, because that's just a moment that's stuck in my head. And my dad's just like, I hated the military because I thought to myself, they broke my boy, they broke my son. My father is very left liberal. He says he's a socialist, and in many ways he is a socialist. In many ways, also, like the last time I had dinner with them, I said something about fuck Joe Biden. And he's just like, what's wrong with Joe Biden? I'm just like, oh, you mean groping Joe? You mean Mr. Fuck the Millennials, Mr. Just everything with Joe, with, the cost of student loans, cost of healthcare. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck an old white man Democrat. Fuck that nonsense. And I explained those things to my parents. And but to my parents' credit, they were also just like, I did not know that about him. My parents are not extremely online like I am, unlike all the rest of us are. So, my parents are always like open to listening to those things. And like, I'm sure like no matter who the Dems, it's Kamala Harris, and even as fucking Gabbard, like my parents were like, fuck it, it's not Trump, so I'll go vote for them. And I'm not going to talk them out of that. Like, I am extremely lucky that my parents are, very, very liberal. Like my parents are all universal healthcare, get rid of insurance companies, everything that we all, the rest of us fight for. So I'm extremely lucky in that, because I know a lot of people had to fight with their families about that. And like my father's like, sisters and everything who are Southern Missouri people who voted against, they voted for right to work, to bust up unions in Missouri, who voted to, who go to the March for Life, the anti-abortion or the pro anti-abortion, and go to the anti-abortion thing that's out in DC. Like they travel to these things. Like they're very good Catholic and very good, very heavy Catholic, even in a Methodist and a Methodist Missouri. They're very Catholic. I mean, they get along with everybody because they're all anti-abortion and everything. So I'm very lucky that I have that. But yeah, that's always kind of stuck with me that my dad my dad's very anti-war too. No, I never grew up in a house with guns, even though I enjoy guns now. I enjoy guns responsibly because I never had somebody treat them like they were just some toy or something, which you see all the time. Like anybody that does all these like, oh, let me show my boy with a gun. Like, look how funny this is. Fuck that nonsense. That's you're being an asshole with a gun. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things that's always really stuck with me with my dad. So, yeah, fuck the military. Don't ever join it. It's weird. Let's see. Do I have any other things? Will you do more or all of the Tom Clancy on the pod? I feel like after First Blood, you'd love Without Remorse. So I haven't actually read anything by Tom Clancy. I know that it is a Tom Clancy is. I think there's a video game that I played that was vaguely based off of a Tom Clancy game. It was one of those it was one of the very early Xbox 360 voice activated games where you could like voice activate, send these troops to here, and you could do all that. And I've never read. I don't read like goofy military stuff. I read Trigger Warning like as a joke, and because it was so fucking ridiculous, because that the entirety of that of that book was just I want to meet the person that meant it, like that wrote it. Like I can't imagine whoever writes all those westerns was just like, well, let me go ahead and get brain damage. But there is like a whole like series of people doing these America has fallen. America's fallen. What do we do? Oh my God, here comes, Jake Strongchin to fucking fight our way into something great and wonderful. So Trigger Warning was bad enough. I'm not reading any more of that. I would rather read and I know for a while I had people sending me shitty books, and I still have some. There's a Dinesh D'Souza book that I've been sitting on for a while, but I can't bring myself to do it, y'all. I can't bring myself to fucking do that level of insanity. So I am gonna do a Harry Potter book series though. Well, not a series. I'm just the whole series. I'm gonna do like a review on it, because like I know every liberal loves to do this whole like, oh, Harry Potter, we're all Dumbledore's army against Donald Trump. I always thought that was fucking stupid. And then I started reading, like I read up to book 4, and then I started reading book 5 when it came out in when was that? I don't remember when that came out. I'm trying to think of a timeline of when, like, I remember my friends going to see book. I imagine it was when I was still in my teens or very early 20s. Anyway, book 5 came out, and Harry Potter seemed really fucking whiny and shitty, and I didn't want to read it. So I powered through book 5. I read book 6. I'm in the middle of book 7. And, like, I get it. I get why everybody is doing this, like, because, the bad guys took over the media. They took over, the good guys are all dead, and how do we do this? And how are we gonna win? The problem is that British media is you are born destined for greatness, and American media is you fight for greatness, because that is very much like America is born through revolution against the British, and the British you're born into being royalty or whatever, and that's how you're born into being a wizard, as Harry Potter was. So it doesn't fucking work, because it's just not. I mean, if anybody was born into greatness, it was fucking Donald Trump. So obviously the British model doesn't work for the rest of us. So, but on the other hand, for anything else though, like it seemed like I get it. So I may do something. I know Joe Sabian on Lions Led by Donkeys did a thing on tactics of the Battle of Hogwarts. I'm not there yet. I'm in. If you've read all the Harry Potter books, I seem to be in the middle of basically like in Lord of the Rings. If I could compare Harry Potter to Lord of the Rings, when Frodo and Samwise are just fucking walking around doing nothing other than bitching at each other, that's the part of Harry Potter I'm in. And I really hope they get out of it soon, because goddamn, it's bad. So maybe I'll end up doing something on that. So let's see, Curious Cat, any updates? Nope, nobody updated in Curious Cat other than hyperallergenics. Let's see, let's go on down a little bit more. Are there more secret lefties in the military or local law enforcement? I feel like it has to be in the military. Probably. I mean, I want to say that law enforcement is hit with a lot more propaganda against like in the military, nobody's talking about Black Lives Matter because like as a threat, because we don't come across Black Lives Matter in the military. We fight ISIS, we fight Al Qaeda, we fight these large scale like enemies of the state. We don't fight against localized ones. And like, so my brother is my brother is a federal cop. When I say that, though, I'm a fuzzy. When I say that, though, my brother is a federal cop at a national park. So basically, he makes sure that nobody, like, his training was making sure nobody stole, like, petrified wood from the petrified forest. So, I mean, if you can call that being a cop, sure. Which, but he gets paid more than, like, than like a real cop. So because he's a federal employee, motherfucker's furloughed as a motherfucker right now, though. Which, like, hey, he's finally getting paid for the amount of work that he actually does. But I feel like in the local police forces, you're probably given more of a, like, these are the people that you're going up against, and they'll show, like, a Black Lives Matter person, or somebody in a bandana, or because it's just a localized police force can fuck up the day of, like, a localized area way more. So, like, you're more likely as an American to get your head caved in by a cop than you are a soldier. But also, as an American, you're not going to get your wedding drone striked. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I suppose. I imagine there's more lefties in the military. If you were a lefty in a police force, I would think that you would get out. If you were, like, a proper lefty, if you, like, understood why being a cop is bad. I know that there are some people that think, like, maybe I can change it from the inside. The problem with the idea of I can change it from the inside, like, because it's hard. Look, the one thing that I really sympathize with people in the military and people who are police officers is, like, when you get into this line of service, you get into this line of work, and you've been doing it for, like, 8 years, say, and then you, like, have, like, oh, I realize what I'm doing is wrong, or the way that I'm trained is really shitty, and we shouldn't be doing this. How do you reset your career? How do you do that? Like, it's easy to say, just like, well, you just do it. You just, like, oh, I hate this job, I'm going to quit. But, like, you got a mortgage, you got a kid, you got a wife or a husband, and you've got to do these things. And, like, honestly, if you quit your job, you start on square one. So, like, maybe you start telling yourself, maybe I can change things. I'm very lucky as a reservist that I can, once my contract is up, I can get out of the military and not worry about these things because I have a civilian career. Like, I've always had a civilian career. I've never had to worry about what do I do when I get out of the military, because I only do Army 1 weekend a month. A lot of people don't have that luxury. So, like, I don't know, like, and I'm sure that, the hard left and tankies and everything will fucking yell at me about, you should kill yourself or whatever about it. But, also that in the end, you as a soldier or as a cop, just quit your job and go find something else. But if you're making $40,000 a year and you stop being a cop, what do you go do to make up that? So it's hard. I mean, I fully tell everybody that don't become a cop, don't join the military. If you're going to join the military because you literally have nothing else to do that you can do, join some kind of force in the military that, like, isn't the infantry. Don't get something that, like, when you get out of the Army, you can use it. Especially join the Air Force. So yeah, I don't know if there's more secret left. I mean, there's probably more secret lefties in the military, but who the fuck knows? Okay, we'll do one more and then we'll refresh. What to you is the ideal socialist society, and what aspects of the military could we take to make sure we have a decent social democratic society? So, I actually did an episode roughly about this with another veteran. Cannot remember who I did this interview with, but anyway, basically we talked about how the military. If there's one thing the military really excels at, it's logistics. What logistics are is here's a bunch of shit, get it from point A to point B. Here's these vehicles. We need to get them from here to there. The military's got you. We can do that. Transcom, which is Transportation Command, which is headquarters just outside of St. Louis, is phenomenal. And also like our ability to generate product. If you need tanks, we make fucking tanks all day. The MRAPs, the Humvees, the fucking aircraft carriers, man, we'll do that shit all day long. The military has a very strong ability to say, we don't have anything here, let's go make it. Like if we were actually serious about a space force or whatever the fuck that means, we would have something. Like within 10 years, we would easily have some kind of weaponized space. We're not going to. The idea of a space force is ridiculous and not technically illegal, but insane. I think the latest thing was Trump promised that we'll be able to shoot missiles shot from anywhere at America. We'll be able to shoot them down. Absolutely not. Not feasible. Not even a thing that we can ever do. But the military is very good at logistics. People say, well, you can't shut down Amazon because then, we have this, distribution center that, could get things from point A to point B. It's like, fuck that. We have the military. The military can do it. We have the Corps of Engineers. Corps of Engineers can do amazing things. Hydroelectric dams, locks and dams, everything. Like if you up and down the Mississippi River, I live right off the Mississippi River. If you go over to the Illinois side and you go north a little bit, like by a little bit, I mean like, maybe about 20 or 30 minutes. There's like museums, there's lock and dam museums where there's like a fucking barge simulator where you could simulate you driving a barge through a fucking lock and dam. You know why? Because it's fucking federally funded, bitch. And it is incredible. And that is all Corps of Engineers. It's all federally funded. That's all like federal shit. Like the military can do these things. We have an incredible basically support system to go out and do these things. And if you could fucking take the 12 or 13 or 15 or whatever the fuck aircraft carriers we have and turn them into hospital ships and send them out and just be like, just park outside of Havana, park outside of Honduras, park outside of the Horn of Africa or any of these places, it would be absolutely fantastic. So those are the aspects of the military that I really think would absolutely benefit a society, the society that we're all kind of working for. So, but okay, at that point, I feel like we are pretty far into this. That's about 30 minutes. So thank you all for joining me. We're going to do some more of these hopefully in the future. If you have any questions, Sergeant Joker at hellofawaydidie.com. You can also follow me at Army Strength, follow the podcast at Hell of a Way, and follow Nate at In These Deserts, and we'll do a lot more of these in the coming days. So thank you all.